Hello, everyone. Let's give everybody a chance to come on in. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Lunch and Learn presentation, How to Reduce Your Time Spent in Appeal Process. I'm Jackson Ratcliffe, Demand Generation Marketing Manager at LexisNexis Intellectual Property Solutions. I'd like to just cover a few things before we get started today. During the webinar, please feel free to submit questions using the Q&A feature in the control panel. You will receive a survey following today's presentation and asked to provide feedback. A follow-up email of the recording from today's presentation, along with the slides, will be sent to you later. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter. With us today is Katie Brown, Customer Success Manager at LexisNexis Intellectual Property Solutions. Since joining LexisNexis in 2021, she has been supporting our customers through training and sharing best practices for leveraging our IP solutions. Today, she'll be covering the ways you can use PatentAdvisor to reduce your time spent in appeal processes. Thank you again, everyone, for joining today's presentation. And with that, Katie, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jackson. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. Thanks you all so much for joining today. I'm really happy to be presenting to you all. So as Jackson mentioned, today I'm going to be talking about how to reduce your time spent in appeal processes using LexisNexis PatentAdvisor. So quick note as I get started, as Jackson mentioned, we're going to be using the Q&A today to gather any questions that you have. So please do feel free to put any questions in the Q&A. I'm going to try and pause periodically and check for questions. So definitely would love for this to be interactive. Happy to take your questions as I go. But I'm also going to leave some time at the end for any remaining questions as well. All right. And with that, let's jump in and get started. Okay, so just to start with the agenda, today we're going to be discussing how you can easily find winning arguments in PTAB decisions in order to get more accurate and relevant prosecution guidance. Additionally, how you can quickly find cases that are particularly relevant to you as you are considering and going through the appeal process. Additionally, how to find interpretations during prosecution so that if you have favorable case law straight from the board. And additionally, we're going to be going over how you can get additional information about examiner behavior through various tools leveraged in PatentAdvisor that can be beneficial for you throughout all stages of the prosecution process. All right. So just to provide a little bit of background on this topic, just to go over, there are a few challenges that we're looking to address today. So one of the challenges is that sometimes you may be having trouble kind of seeing eye to eye in prosecution with your examiner. Maybe they are issuing multiple office actions, repeated rejections, and you're having trouble reaching a resolution with them. And so because of this, sometimes the ex parte appeal process is the best option for overcoming this and getting your application granted. However, that decision is often not taken lightly because the appeal process is often expensive and time consuming. It can take a few years to get through. So knowing this, you definitely want as much information up front to know, is this a good strategy to take? And if so, what are my chances of success? What arguments can I use to get through this successfully? And so, as you all know, navigating this process efficiently and effectively is of the utmost importance in order to be successful here. So the solution we're going to go over today is how LexisNexis PatentAdvisor can help you easily find winning arguments and also get accurate and relevant prosecution guidance, both in terms of finding successful arguments, but also providing good guidance from a procedural standpoint, what strategies are best in getting through prosecution. So these are all the things that we're going to be going over today. So just to also give a little bit of background, I'd like to just quickly review our full suite of solutions that we have here at LexisNexis that can help you through all stages of the prosecution process and bring clarity to innovation. So the first solution that we do have is Total Patent One. Total Patent One is our global patent search tool. So you're able to search for through published applications and granted patents in 107 authorities worldwide. So 110 million patent full text documents in English or the original language. We really pride ourselves on the depth of coverage of the published patents that we have that you can begin with when you're doing prior art search, freedom to operate search, etc. We do have harmonized ownership information in Total Patent One as well. In addition to your searching, you can set up alerts either for your own or for competitors' patents so that you receive those alerts on an ongoing basis. We also now have Orange Book and SPC data linked to the patents in Total Patent One as well. So just a few features related to our searching tool. Additionally, we do have a patent drafting tool as well, Patent Optimizer. Patent Optimizer helps you draft higher quality applications. It can help you do quality control checks and very quick one-click error reports as well. It also helps you auto-generate your desired language specific to your office action, rejections, and objections as well. And then we have the tool that we're going to be diving in depth with today, which is PatentAdvisor. So PatentAdvisor is our analytics tool that provides predictive prosecution analytics. And what that can help you do is, of course, we're going to get into this in much detail, but improve your prosecution outcomes, as well as managing your and your stakeholders' expectations about the prosecution process. It helps you save time and increase your ROI, efficiently manage your resources as you are proceeding with prosecution, and also generate more business. And then finally, what we have is PatentSight, which is our patent intelligence and analytics tool that really helps you with your patent portfolio management. It can empower strategic decision-making, identify your high-value patents, and basically provide analyses and visualizations on the qualities of patent portfolios. So we're always happy to talk more about any of these solutions with you if you would like more information or would like to take a look. But I just wanted to highlight all the ways that we can support you with your all the way from drafting and prosecution through your patent portfolio management. Okay. So just to focus now on patent prosecution and how PatentAdvisor can help. So there are multiple challenges facing patent prosecutors today, including time pressure, uncertainty, and unpredictability. So for instance, of course, there's a time pressure because prosecution can take multiple years. Of course, you have the challenge of securing both high quality patents accurately and effectively, but also being as efficient about it as possible to maximize the time that your patent is in force. So of course, you're facing tight deadlines and limited resources for this. Additionally, there is some uncertainty to the patent prosecution process when you apply for a patent at the USPTO. And so managing the process, crafting your prosecution strategy, and then determining a prosecution budget can be challenging because you don't have any control over the USPTO examiner that you're assigned, and you don't know what exactly, what behavior or actions you can expect from this examiner. And then finally, the unpredictability of the process can be a challenge when you're going through prosecution as well, because you don't know for certain what steps will be required to obtain this patent, how long it may take, and ultimately what your chance of success may be. So due to these challenges that you all face in getting your patent granted, we're going to talk about the ways that PatentAdvisor can help. So ways that PatentAdvisor can help include improving your prosecution outcomes, but with the powerful analytics about the examiners, which can help bring more predictability and transparency to the prosecution process. It can help you understand better how to proceed with these examiners. We also can help you set accurate prosecution budgets because we provide predictions on where an application may be classified or what's likely to happen with this examiner, or we also help you identify at-risk applications early on. Also, PatentAdvisor can help you evaluate and manage your outside counsel. We actually have analytics that can measure law firm performance, both different law firm performances against one another, as well as against USPTO averages. It also allows you to conduct competitive analysis. So you can benchmark your portfolio against others in the same space. And that goes for both patent owners as well as law firms. You can really, we have tools and reports that allow you to benchmark and evaluate your own performance, both in general as well as with others in the same space. Okay. Just going to take a quick pause. I see some questions. Okay, we're good. All right, just wanted to pause for a question for a sec. Okay. So going into one of the main issues that PatentAdvisor helps address is that often you would expect when going through prosecution that the examiner that you're assigned doesn't matter, that they all behave the same way, but that is simply not the case. There are, in fact, two kind of extreme groups of examiners that are kind of outliers in this process that actually can really affect how prosecution turns out for you if you are working with these examiners. So there's this first category of examiners that tend to really be what you might consider, you could call it an easier examiner, examiners that are much more likely to grant. And in fact, we've found that 10% of the examiner pool actually account for close to half of all patents that are granted. So this 10% of examiners are actually issuing more than 50 patents a year, and almost half of the patents granted every year. So that is a huge chunk, really disproportionately large portion of grants from this grouping of examiners. On the flip side, we have category B. About 20% of the examiner pool actually is only accounting for about 0.6% of all patents that are granted. So you can see here, these examiners can issue fewer than 5 patents or grant fewer than 5 patents per year. So they move through their cases much more slowly. Maybe they issue more office actions, definitely grant a lot fewer patents. So if you find that your application has landed in one of these examiners in the 20% of this pool, the road to getting your patent granted might be much more difficult. And so because of this pretty big variation, that's something that PatentAdvisor is looking to address to help you navigate what to do given the examiner that your application has been assigned. So the solution that PatentAdvisor has is we can help you anticipate an examiner's behavior in order to improve your prosecution outcomes. So we have these powerful analytics that can help you understand your examiner better and craft the best possible prosecution strategy. So we have this metric that is exclusive to PatentAdvisor called the examiner time allocation, or ETA. And it's the single most informative metric for predicting examiner behavior and really exclusively measuring that, which can, as we just saw, can really affect the length and the cost of prosecution, as well as your likelihood of allowance. And the way the ETA is calculated, it's based on the number of office actions per allowance that the examiner is doing. So again, exclusively examiner behaviors, it's basically how many office actions per allowance. So their behaviors and how likely they are to issue another office action versus granting. This metric does also factor in a few other things like their pending caseload as well as examiner tenure. So their pending caseload's factored in because if they have a high pending caseload, then there's a higher chance that it's going to take longer to get through prosecution. And additionally, we've found with examiner tenure that can really affect the examiner's tendency to grant a number of office actions that they're issuing. You all may have observed this as well, but we've found that the newest examiners tend to move through prosecution much more slowly, issue a lot more office actions. There could be a few reasons for this. One, they're new at their job, they're being very cautious. They may not have as much knowledge about the specific prior art that's relevant to the patents they're reviewing. They tend to cite more prior art, etc. They also are under review by a more senior examiner. So for that reason, also they are being much more conservative. And they also, it would be, I think there's, it would be worse if they granted a patent that shouldn't be granted. And so therefore being more conservative if issuing more office actions. So for all those reasons, examiner tenure tends to be, is a factor as well. And so what we have here, you can see that on every examiner dashboard, we have this visual, and this is the ETA calculation for one examiner. Theirs is a 3.2. You'll see here that when we calculate the ETA, we also color code these. So they're like we use like a traffic light symbolism. So any ETA score that's 2.5 and below, that's you could say easiest. I think, of course, that's up for interpretation, but examiners that issue the fewest office actions per grant, those are the green examiners, 2.5 and below. The yellow examiners, those are kind of middle of the road difficulty, 2.6 to 5.9 ETAs. And then the red examiners have ETAs of 6 and above. So those are probably going to be the really, it's a pretty tough road when you have a red examiner. Also going back to this, so just for this example, this examiner that has a 3.2, they're a yellow examiner. And so also when we're looking at an examiner dashboard, a lot of folks rely on allowance rate to determine your overall likelihood of success when working with an examiner. That is valuable, of course, but it doesn't directly hone in on the examiner's behavior. It doesn't ultimately show you anything about how long it may take to get through prosecution or how many office actions, just the ultimate likelihood of success. And so the ETA includes pending applications, factors in the examiner tenure, and again, you're really looking exclusively at the examiner's behavior. Again, because the allowance rate also factors in abandonments, which is technically a filer action, not an examiner action. And so again, the ETA is really the best way to exclusively measure and look at the examiner's behavior. Okay. So now we're going to get more in depth. So after I've given that background, we're going to get more in depth about how to, the ways you can use examiner statistics in PatentAdvisor to guide your appeal strategy. So there's a few things that you can do. One thing you can do in PatentAdvisor is you can identify your appeal candidates early on using prosecution pattern monitoring. So something that we have is we allow you to set up a monitor to monitor for applications that have a certain set of conditions. This can really be helpful when you have a really large pending portfolio and you really need to flag specific applications of, okay, these are ones that we need to look more closely at. These may require a more carefully crafted prosecution strategy. And so these can help you really flag those that have either had a certain event or fit a certain criteria. There are a lot of things that you can monitor for in PatentAdvisor. For example, you can monitor for applications that have red examiners because you know right away that that may require a more carefully crafted prosecution strategy. Maybe with a red examiner, you might consider, for example, an appeal upfront or more aggressive amendments because you know that it may end up on appeal in the end anyway. So just a few ways that having this information can help you craft your strategy right off the bat. For this specific example, for identifying appeal candidates, so with the monitors, there are a lot of conditions you can set for, but we also have several templates that are pre-created for you that tend to be helpful for folks going through prosecution. So one of them is candidates to appeal. And what this monitor can help you do, it's very quick and easy. Just, set up the monitor, choose this template, ready to go. What this is looking for is applications with a high likelihood of an appeal win and against a difficult examiner. So when we're looking, this is a screenshot from PatentAdvisor of the conditions that are included here in this template. So you can see here, we want pending cases only, and we want the likelihood of a win to be equal or more than 50%. Of course, we'll talk about what goes into that stat. The allowance rate, again, we may want to flag for difficult examiners only. So examiner allowance rates of less or equal to 25%, and that ETA score that's above 6, meaning that it's a red examiner, really tough examiner. So these may be candidates that can help you know right off the bat, this may be one that we need to appeal, and we may need to look into that sooner rather than later. Additionally, you can identify applications that have kind of maybe unexpectedly had a pretty extended prosecution. Maybe they've gone on longer than you would expect. And so this can help you flag, again, just knowing probably that you have a pretty large caseload, this can help you much more quickly and easily just quickly identify applications that you may need to look into further and maybe revise or create your strategy for these. So this is one where the applications have had extended prosecution and there's been no interview or appeal yet. So you might look into those as possible strategies. And the way that that's determined, and of course, again, you can always customize this in PatentAdvisor, but the template that we have available for you is limiting again to pending applications only, office actions 3 or more. So once you've hit 3 office actions and more, it'll bring these applications in. And then the last condition here is all of these prosecution history events that have not happened. And so these are interview and appeal events, which we've identified in the system for you. So you know that no interview or appeal has occurred. There have been a lot of office actions here, prosecutions going on a long time. So what can we do? So once you've set this monitor and you get a list of you can receive weekly emails with this information, or you can write in PatentAdvisor C, what are these applications that are being flagged here? So maybe you've seen one with this example, prosecution's been going on for a while, no interview, no appeal, what should we do? So what you can do is, this is an example of an application that was in this monitor. You can click into the application in PatentAdvisor and you can get more information about it. So what we have is Quick Pair, which is our enhanced version of what used to be Pair is now the Patent Center. We haven't changed our name to Quick Patent Center yet. That doesn't quite have the same ring, I don't think, as Quick Pair, but that is what we have in PatentAdvisor. And basically it's like an application dashboard, has all the same features as the Patent Center, but with a few enhancements as well. So you can just quickly take a look at this application. And one of the enhancements that we do have in Quick Pair is we have this timeline. So this timeline really provides a visual representation of the steps and the strategies that have been taken so far. So it allows you to quickly and easily gain insight into the status of the application, where does it stand today, as well as which strategies have or have not been used. So in this example here, we can see that this application is pending as of today. We have the examiner's information right here. We can see that the examiner has an allowance rate of 75%. Their ETA score is a 2.4. That actually makes them a green examiner. And we also have the examiner's average time to allowance and office actions to allowance. So this helps you know what is typical for this examiner and where does my case stand in comparison to the examiner's average and therefore predicted behavior. So below this information, we can see what all the steps that have been taken as well as the dates that they occurred. So you can see here that this case has had 2 RCEs, 5 office actions, and it actually has now exceeded both the examiner's average time to allowance, which is shown in that light blue bubble, as well as the office actions to allowance as well. So this is an example of a case that clearly there is some sort of holdup going on, a disagreement between the applicant and the examiner about this that is beyond the examiner's typical behavior. So this may be one where, and also you can see here on the side, there is no indication that there's been, we flag interviews and appeals as well. So you can see visually that there's been no interview or appeal here. So this may indicate to you that perhaps we should try a different strategy. Maybe we should look and see what if one of those might bring us more success here. And so what you can do next is you can click into the examiner's name and you can go to the examiner dashboard. And what the examiner dashboard will do is it provides a lot of statistics that can help you decide what strategies might be helpful when working with this examiner. So the examiner dashboard helps you better understand examiner behavior and guide your strategy through all stages of prosecution. So you can receive information about your examiner, including their ETA score, their allowance rate, and many other statistics. We have things like office action statistics, their average time, RCE statistics, the kinds of rejections they like to issue the most, whether that's 102s, 103s, et cetera. So a lot of in-depth information about these examiners. We also have interview and appeal statistics. So this is where you could look and see, is an interview, how beneficial is an interview? What's the allowance rate with and without? Same with appeal. So we'll get into that. The details of their appeal statistics, like what's my chance of winning in the appeal process with this examiner. And so what this is a picture of here is just a sample examiner dashboard. You can see that this examiner is a yellow examiner with an ETA score of 3.1. His allowance rate over his whole career is a little bit lower than the allowance rate for his current art unit. And then if you were in PatentAdvisor, you could scroll down and then receive many additional statistics beyond these key ones at the top. You can also see here the filter button at the top that you're able to filter examiner behavior. So if you wanted to look at, for example, just the last few years, what's their behavior been, because that's the most relevant to this case, you can do this as well. So keeping on the subject of appeal statistics here, one key statistic in the examiner dashboard is the examiner appeal statistics. So you can actually look at the appeal statistics to help you determine whether it makes sense to even pursue an appeal. You can also evaluate your overall chances of winning on appeal. So in this appeal statistics section, as you can see, you're able to filter for patented and abandoned, or just patented or just pending applications, etc. So this dashboard here is set for patented and abandoned, and you can see here in the top right, you can see the total number of appeal cycles that have occurred. So there have been 66 appeal cycles with this examiner in over 1,000 applications. You can also see that 5.8% of this examiner's applications have had at least one appeal cycle. So just kind of giving you some insight into how typical this is with this examiner. And then also what your chances of winning on appeal are. So with this examiner, which is taken from Michael Andrews' dashboard, the chances of winning on appeal are 65.6%. So that indicates pretty good likelihood of a good result coming out of an appeal, entering the appeal process. We also have this donut graph, which is giving appeal exit breakdown. And so it's not, there isn't room to show it on the screen here, but what this is showing is that we actually have very detailed statistics for every step of an appeal process. We have a breakdown of 5 different appeal outcomes. So if the appeal cycle ends at an appeal brief, we show that. If it ends at a examiner's reply, we show that. And then the last step is, how many of these cases ended at a PTAB decision and what was the outcome? So this appeal exit breakdown, it's a breakdown of how many of their appeal cycles ended at which stage. So you can see here, it's broken down, and the final step of an appeal would be a PTAB decision. So we provide a breakdown of how many of those cases, if it entered an appeal cycle, how many of them ended at a PTAB decision. So we have the final outcomes of each appeal cycle, and then we provide the detailed breakdown of the next significant event following each appeal cycle. So you can see here with this examiner, the breakdown of the next significant events. So the majority of these did result in an allowance. So again, kind of backing up that information that you have a better chance than not of winning on appeal. And you can see this breakdown. So when we're calculating the chances of winning on appeal, we're doing a breakdown of, we consider an applicant win to either be an allowance, of course, or a final or a non-final office action, because therefore prosecutions reopen, so those are considered wins. And then we consider an applicant loss to be an abandonment or an RCE directly following an appeal cycle. So we provide the detailed breakdown of what often happens the most following that appeal cycle. And then if you were in PatentAdvisor, we could actually click in. So like next to allowance, where it's in blue, 22 applicant win, you can actually click on that and see the cases that did result in a win against that examiner. So that right away can give you a little bit of a research tool into seeing, okay, which cases won on appeal. Let's take a look at those and see what strategies they used. And then finally, below the appeal statistics, we do have the ex parte PTAB cases. And so right there in the examiner dashboard. So you can see the outcomes of the PTAB cases that belong to that examiner directly in their dashboard. And we have the outcomes and their decision documents directly in the dashboard. So you can see here, this is Michael Andrews' PTAB case outcomes. And what you can see here is you can see each case listed, the application number, you can see the relevant issues at hand. So a lot of 103s with this examiner, a few 112s. You can see the outcomes as well. Those do read across. So as you're looking at, for example, this one, fourth from the bottom, Waldemar Becker, the 112A does result in examiner reversed. So you can see that information right off the bat, and then the decision date. A few things you can do from here. You can, if you click on the application number column, that will bring you to quick pair, so you can see the full case information if you click there. And then also if you click the case name, that is where you can actually see the outcome, that decision document coming directly from the PTAB. And we will talk about that more in depth as well. Okay. So I talked a lot about how you can use examiner statistics and information to both flag cases that might be likely appeal candidates, as well as understand more about the examiner you're working with and their specific appeal statistics, and whether or not it might make sense to appeal, etc. So now we're going to look more in depth at those PTAB decision documents and how they can help you craft your argument. So I was showing the outcomes of the PTAB decisions for each specific examiner, which are of course included in their dashboard. But we do have this PTAB decisions feature, which is under research in the bottom left here, which is where you can actually go to view all PTAB decisions database wide. So for PTAB decisions, so PatentAdvisor is the only prosecution analytics platform that has over 111,000 ex parte appeal documents tagged to 229 legal issues. So we've actually scanned the text of these appeal documents, and we've located the relevant sentences, and we've tagged them to 229 and counting legal issues. I believe when this tool first came out a year or so ago, we actually had even fewer legal issues. So it's 229 and counting, constantly increasing those. Right now we're at 229. And what this can allow you to do is to quickly and easily drill down through these issues and help you quickly find winning arguments that can help you get more accurate and relevant prosecution guidance. So what you can do with these PTAB decisions is you can drill down to view the outcomes of these specific legal issues that are relevant to your case. So as you can see here, when we're looking through these issues, they are indexed at a high level by the overall rejection type, 102, 103, etc. But as you click through, you click the plus signs, you can drill into specific kinds of arguments. So if you're facing the specific issue, you can drill into that and see the relevant documents. You also can quickly, if you want to, instead of drilling in, if you wanted to do a search for the PTAB decisions that are more relevant to you, you can use our search fields at the top. So you can search by the examiner name if you just want the decisions for the specific examiner you're working with. You can search by the art unit as well, that's relevant to you. You can search by a specific date range. You can search by the decision type as well. And then you can search for specific legal issues. So the example that I've searched for here is hindsight. The search field in this first page is it's only searching for these specific legal issues that we have indexed. So hindsight did yield results for me because, as you can see here, as we've drilled down, the system drilled for me right into this this section where hindsight is an argument. You can see hindsight is highlighted in yellow at the bottom. So when you are doing a search of the issues, it would only yield results if it matches the legal issue that we have listed in the system. But you are able to search for those issues and filter. So again, you can see here that I'm able to drill straight into hindsight related issues. And again, I could always combine that with searching for cases with a specific examiner or something like this. Also, you can see here, we do have the breakdown as well at a high level of affirmed, affirmed in part, and reversed. So you can quickly see right off the bat how often it happens that these decisions are affirmed or reversed. Interestingly, maybe not surprisingly, it looks like 101s have a much higher rate of being affirmed by the PTAB, the examiner decision being affirmed by the PTAB, whereas 102s, 103s can be a little bit trickier, up for debate, a little bit bigger chance of getting those decisions reversed by the PTAB. Oh, I would also like to point out, you might notice, I've gotten a question before that with these numbers of decisions, the math may not, it doesn't appear that it looks like it adds up. It looks like it's overcounting. The reason for that is because the same PTAB decision probably often has more than one legal issue tied to it. So that document will fall into multiple buckets, multiple different issues. So that may look like it's overcounting, but it's just because that same document has multiple issues tagged to it that will allow you to find it. All right, and then once we've drilled down, so in my example here, I've drilled into the hindsight cases. This can now allow you to see your relevant PTAB decisions, including the outcomes. And then from here, you have several additional filters. So you could filter by the specific outcomes, so whether it was reversed, affirmed, etc. You can look by specific judges. You can see the judges are listed here. You can look by a certain customer number or law firm if you want to filter the data this way. And then you can do a keyword search into those decisions. From here, that's more of a free text, can search for any keyword that's located in those decisions that may be relevant to you. So this will again help you identify those relevant arguments in the cases that maybe are the same issue that you're facing. And then, so what you can do, as I mentioned with the examiner dashboard, you can click into the case name and you can actually see the decision document that's relevant to that case. So when we go in there, when reviewing the decision document, we actually have this really nice argument finder tool. And the argument finder tool, so not only can you just quickly find the document, but you also can quickly find the relevant arguments that are directly tagged to these issues. So you can identify the salient points from your appeal processes to help you guide your prosecution strategy. You can improve your appeal success rate by researching this data and quickly see the legal issues. So this can help you, again, see these issues quickly and easily, decide whether it makes sense to appeal, and help you craft your optimal appeal brief. So as you can see with this argument finder visual example here, that in the specific document, there was a 101, a 103, 112A, 112B. So quite a few different issues going on. And you actually are able to navigate through. So basically, it helps you quickly and easily read the decision document. So you can use the arrows on the side. As you can see, for example, this 101 issue at hand has 6 mentionings of the legal issues. So you can actually take the arrows and navigate through and quickly see the relevant sentences that are relevant to these specific arguments under the 101. So again, once you've filtered to these documents that have maybe, for example, a 101, you can then quickly and easily read the actual text using this argument finder to quickly and easily identify these and therefore help you craft your appeal arguments. Additionally, we have actually also heard too from customers that not only are these arguments really valuable to find, and these outcomes valuable to find to help you craft valuable arguments during an appeal process, but they can actually really be valuable before that too. We've heard that they can be really valuable when you're drafting an office action response, even before you've reached an appeal, to help you build your argument there. So basically, these just can be really valuable way to find what's been successful, given the issues that are relevant to you. So one example of the way the argument finder looks is you can see here, this is an example of a decision document on the left. If you were to click view conclusions above the document, you'd actually be able to jump to the very bottom and just see what the final decision was. So affirmed, reversed, etc. So quickly and easily see that. You can download the PDF. You can also search through that document and then again, use the argument finder. So you can see directly and quickly jump to the sentences that are relevant to the 102 and the 103 issues. You can see here that the 102 is highlighted in a reddish color, 103 is green. So you can quickly get through those and see the relevant sentences that can help you, might be relevant to your argument, and it can help you craft relevant arguments that are helpful for you as well. All right. And then, oh yeah, so just to give another even closer look, so you can see here under rejections that they wanted to issue here highlighted in red. So you can see the specific sentences related to this 102. And then additionally, the 103. So what the decision is, in this case, the claims were rejected, and what the legal argument was, what the reference was. Okay. And then finally, one more thing that you can do in PatentAdvisor is you can assess appeal performance. So both in terms of another way you can try and predict success or just look at appeal performance in hindsight. You can use what we have called is a law firm report card. The law firm report card, that's a report that you can run that provides a lot of interesting appeal, or not just appeal, but prosecution statistics. You can evaluate it's called law firm report card because it was initially developed with the idea of evaluating a law firm and providing key insights into relevant statistics that can help you determine their effectiveness and efficiency in prosecution. We have statistics in there, including things like repeated rejections, types of rejections, response timeliness, things like this. And we also have appeal statistics. So that is something you can do, but I'd like to mention, you also can put in basically any subset of applications that you want to look at. So if you actually did want to look at this at a company level instead, or for any subset of applications, you can plug that into this report. So it doesn't just have to be one specific law firm. You can plug it into this report. You can also kind of hone in on a law firm's performance for a certain client, a lot of different things you can do to evaluate that performance. And so one of the key stats in there that I wanted to point out, since we are talking a lot about appeals today, is we do have the appeal statistics that are shown directly in this report card as well. We have so for this sample law firm, we have the percentage of applications that have had at least one appeal. We have the percent of appealed applications that were ultimately abandoned, as well as those that were ultimately allowed. So this can give some insight potentially into their success rate in the appeal process, as well as their overall chances of winning on appeal, which again are based on the outcomes that I had mentioned earlier. So again, just kind of giving insight into, okay, maybe for example, I'm a certain company, I'm deciding if I want to work with a certain law firm for an appeal process. Let's see how they performed historically, or let's just kind of take a look at their performance in the appeal process. Kind of the law firm could do the reverse too. Like this is another reason why PatentAdvisor is really valuable to law firms as well, because you could use this to assess your own performance, but you also could use this for business development. If appeal processes are something that you specialize in, that you do a lot, that you're really successful in, you could use this report to show, here's how many of our applications that went through an appeal and ultimately did get allowed. Here's our chances of winning on appeal. We do really well in this area, so please, hire us for this. So can be a really valuable way to evaluate and showcase performance in the appeal process. And then finally, what we have down at the bottom here, we do have a flow chart, which is actually showing the steps of each process. So for each step of the appeal process, we have this flow chart that will actually show what the breakdown of each outcome. So following a notice of appeal, we have 210, where there were, in this example, 602 notices of appeal. In many cases, 332 times it went directly to the prosecution being reopened instead, but 210 times there was an appeal brief filed, and then it continued on from there. So you can actually see kind of for each step what the next, the breakdown of the steps taken for these cases were, and how all of that unfolded. So again, just giving more insight into what occurred in the appeal process, how successful that was. And we do have also the breakdown of appeal statistics by the examiner type 2. So further breakdown by red, yellow, and green examiners as well. All right. So I've reached the end of my slides here, but I would like to open it up and ask if there are any questions today about any of the information I've shown, anything relevant to appeal processes, ways you can save time and find arguments, or just PatentAdvisor in general. Just like to open it up for a minute and see if there are any remaining questions. So I did get a question. How often is the information updated? I'm going to go ahead and release that question. So the information, we are constantly updating PatentAdvisor. We have a algorithm for going in and pulling all of this data from the documents from the Patent Center. So every single day we're checking thousands and thousands of applications. So yeah, I would say checked and updated on a daily basis. Good question. We do also have the option, if there were something that you felt was not updated in the last few days or so, something that you see has occurred in the Patent Center, whether that's a new office action or something, we do also have the option for you to go in and request an update. And when you're in Quick Parry, and if it looks like something hasn't made its round of updates, you can always go in and click request an update. That will put it at the front of our queue and more quickly get it updated as well. So that's an additional option as well. Just give it another minute or so just to see if there are any remaining questions. And we've also opened the ability to raise hands. So if anyone would like to raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can ask a question as well. So we want to make that option available too. Okay, I see another question. Okay, so the question is there any system that can track the patent application processes? Any system that can track the patent application processes? So I think I might have a follow-up question to that. So there are definitely ways that I'll go ahead and release this answer question. So any system that can track the patent application processes. So there are, and let me know if I'm not addressing this question. If you want to add more detail, please feel free to put that in the Q&A. Thank you for the question. So we do have, so there are a lot of ways in PatentAdvisor that we are tracking the status of applications, as I mentioned in Quick Pair, that gives you the more in-depth view of each application, what has happened so far in that application. Was there an office action? When did it occur? Was there an interview? When did that occur? So all of those sorts of activities. I didn't show this, but when you're looking in that timeline, you also can click into each event and quickly actually get that document too. So if you wanted to look and see, okay, what was the content of that office action or that response, you can actually quickly click that, download the PDF and get that document. So that is one way that you can kind of track the events of an application for sure. The monitor, as I mentioned, is a way that you can specifically monitor and like mine a group of applications for specific events. You can flag applications that have had specific events as well as specific event sequences. So for example, like maybe an office action occurs and then a response within a certain time period, or any sort of prosecution event that has a document code in the Patent Center, we can monitor for. So that's another way. And then of course, within our dashboards, we have pretty detailed statistics of, how many types of rejections and what were the RCE statistics, and especially with the appeals, like what was the next step following an appeal. So that's another way we're tracking, like what has happened, what have been the events, trends, etc. See something in the Q&A. Oh, okay. So an expansion on the question. So alerting for the application future deadlines. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to release that question. So the alert to the application future deadlines. That is a really great question. We do not, so it's unlike a docketing system, which might alert you when the actual deadline is. We don't have that, but that's a really, really great question. We're always looking for ways that we can have more kind of customized ways of outreaching. But something again that you can do is kind of set alerts for, okay, it's gotten an office action, things like this. So that's a really good question about alerting to deadlines. So I would say there is not currently a way. We are actually looking for ways that we could potentially allow our customers to pull the statistics into their own docketing systems. So that is something that a project that maybe down the road we could get our stats actually like integrated into docketing systems. But that's something that we're always thinking about. But again, we do provide very timely updates on what has happened and when the office actions did occur, that sort of thing. So you can definitely get help with that. And then another thing we can do, I didn't talk about this today, but another solution that we do have at LexisNexis is Pair Watch, which actually also provides, so kind of sort of like our monitors, but kind kind of an even more open-ended sort of alert system. What it's doing is it's watching every prosecution event in the Patent Center. And so you could you can choose certain applications that you'd like to watch, whether it's yours or competitors, and actually receive very timely, when they occur, notifications of updates in prosecution. So that's another solution that we have that we're always happy to talk more about, that can help you, again, with these sorts of updates. But yeah, that's a really good question. All right, of course. Just gonna give it a few more seconds for any other questions that we may have. Of course, yeah, thank you, and it's been a pleasure. So, with that, I will say thank you so much to everyone joining today. If you do have any follow-up questions, if you want more information about our solutions, our resources, any future webinars as well, we're of course going to do more lunch and learns in the future. Please feel welcome to visit our website, LexisNexisIP.com. We're always happy, or you're always welcome to reach out to us as well. We're always happy to provide more information. So yeah, and if any other questions that you think of come up after the fact, please do feel free to reach out. We are again going to email out both the slides from the presentation as well as a survey to get your thoughts as well. So thank you all so much again for joining today. We really appreciate your time and attendance, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.